XJ Coupe Restomod project is finally here. I picked it up from Wales today. We've just acquired this car and we're going to do something different with it. It's not going to be standard. It's going to look standard. It's going to look pretty cool from the outside. Maybe some different wheels. But it's definitely going to go manual. And it's definitely going to have a different engine in it. All will be revealed as we go on. But I've just driven it back from Wales, done 150 miles on it today. And it made it back here fine. It's quite a clean car. Pleased with the purchase. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled. You'll wait and see what happens with it as time goes on. The question is what are we going to do? The first thing that's going to happen is it's going to have a mechanical overhaul. Fortunately, the paintwork and the trim and all that kind of stuff is in good enough condition. I didn't really want a full restoration project because it would just be too time consuming to sort all the paint out, and I didn't want to do loads of rust work and that. I just wanted a mechanical project, which is what we've got here. So we did have to pay a couple of quid for the car to get it in that sort of condition, but I think it's going to be worthwhile. It's going to be beneficial to us to not have to be faffing around doing all that sort of stuff. So, in here we've got a 4.2 XJ6 engine, or sorry, XK engine, 6-cylinder, with an automatic gearbox. Now, obviously, when they first came out in the day, you know, they were pretty good, and you could spice them up a little bit, and yeah, for their time period, they did move. But in today's world, they're a bit of a slug, really. I mean, I was in it the other day, and you put your foot down hard on the accelerator from the traffic lights, and it's a bit underwhelming, really. You know, and it doesn't really represent the true look of the car. And as you probably know, we do an awful lot of V12 ones of these, and we put manual gearboxes in them, and we make them better for modern driving.
What would the horsepower be in the 4.2?
Off the top of my head, I can't actually remember, but a V12 was originally 240, 250, and then they progressed up to sort of like towards the 300 mark. We generally get 300 plus out of a fresh V12 engine. A 4.2 on a nice set of carburetors, you can get them up to sort of like 210, 220 quite comfortably. But it's always very limiting with the automatic gearbox. When you put a manual on them, you know, it makes them a lot more fun to drive. They've got to be driver's cars, haven't they? Let's face it. But I think that, you know, I won't achieve what I want to achieve, and the amount of money that we've got to put into a standard engine with a manual gearbox to get where I want to be, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be expensive. So there are other alternatives out there which fit in quite easily and all the rest of it, and that's what we're going to do. So the basic plan or the basic thought process was to put in a 1996-97 straight six XJR 6-cylinder engine. So we're now talking about the last of line of Jaguar's straight six engines, which produced 320 brake horsepower, 330, something like that.
I think it's 322, I think. But
we're going to split hairs, yeah.
But about the 320 mark.
Yeah, about the 320 mark. And in terms of torque, I think they were around about 430, 450 Newton meters, something like that. Maybe a little bit more. With what we're intending is to put a supercharged 6-cylinder engine in it, which is what we've got here.
This is the actual engine, is it, Tom, that you're going to put in?
That is the engine I'm going to put in, yeah. That is it. So we bought this as out of a salvage car.
Yeah.
Didn't cost a lot of money. You know, considering what it is and what it does, all right, yeah, it needs a refresh, but it's not a big project in terms of refreshing. We'll take it apart and we'll put some new piston rings in it, you know, redo all the valves and change every gasket in it and all that sort of stuff. But it's not a major, it's not going to need pistons, it's not going to need crankshafts, it's not going to need...
There's a running engine before it was taken out, and it was
Yeah. It's probably gone off the boil a little bit. You know, the piston rings will be worn out, and there'll be quite a few other worn components internally, but they're not amazingly expensive to replace. So they're all going to. So this engine's going to be stripped down. It'll be cleaned up, and we'll turn it into a very nice looking engine with refreshed internals, without going completely overboard. And it's a very cheap way of gaining an awful lot of power, an awful lot of performance, good torque, all the rest of it.
And reliability, I suppose, compared to like a V12 or...
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a lot cheaper than doing a V12. You think a V12 engine will cost, they're upwards of sort of like £12,000 plus now. You know, you can buy these engines for under £1,000 and give it a good refresh like I'm talking about and detail it and make it look nice. You'll spend, I don't know, 4 or 5 grand on it.
Okay.
You know, you've got a really nice power plant. There's a manual gearbox available for it, which will literally just bolt straight onto the back.
Yeah, great.
And it fits, because this engine was fitted to an XJS in non-supercharged format.
Yeah, the AJ16, this is,
AJ16, this is an AJ16 engine, right? The XJS shared the same front axle assembly as a Series 1, Series 2. It was the same one. It was carried on from 1968 all the way up to the 96. Various additions and changes, but the mounting points are the same. So that basically means that I can take some engine mounts off of an XJS front axle, which will bolt straight onto the front axle of this car, and this engine literally just drops straight in the hole. Bang, done, job done. I've actually done this before. The gearbox will bolt on the back. We have to mess around with the rear mount a little bit, but the gear lever will come out exactly where we want it to. So
perfect.
There's not an awful lot of engineering from our point of view to make this engine go in the hole and work. It will, we'll have to do a prop shaft and we'll have to do a few other bits and pieces. Radiators are going to be different because we've got the supercharged system.
Yeah.
This is all the original wiring. That's effectively going to go in the bin, and we'll just make a wiring loom for it and we'll run it on a standalone engine management system. We've got to integrate it to the clock, so rev counter and speedo will need a little bit of messing around. Oil pressure gauge, things of that nature will take a little bit of effort, but not, you know, not masses. So it's the perfect engine and power plant to use to transform this car. So by the time we've refreshed it, rebuilt it, we'll probably improve the supercharger a little bit and spin that up a little bit faster and improve the cooling. I think we'll get an easy 350, 360 out of this on the dyno.
Nice.
And I think we'll be cruising up to 500 Newton meters of torque, which will turn this into a bit of a beast.
Definitely will, won't it?
Yeah.
Classic Jaguar styling with modern-ish.
Yeah. I'm not talking about turning it into a boy racer look. I really want to keep the externals of the car the same. I mean, we'll probably lose the mud flaps. We're definitely going to put some wheels on it. We're definitely going to rebuild the axles. I'll probably change the diff ratio.
But say, will it have an LX? What will you do about a diff?
No, we'll stick a limit.
It's a diff, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. Definitely, yeah.
So that'll be a quaif one, will it?
It'll be a quaif, yeah. We'll put a quaif in there. Haven't quite made my mind up on diff ratio yet. Originally, this ran on a 327 diff originally. So, but then that would give me a top speed of, I don't know, 150 odd mile an hour. And, you know, as much as I like this car, I don't really fancy doing 150 in it. And to be honest, there's no need. So we might, you know, reduce that. We might put a 354 in it, or...
So that would, what, reduce the top speed?
Yeah, reduce top speed, but it'll make it accelerate quicker.
Yeah, okay.
So it just depends. I need to do a little bit of calculations and work out what sort of RPM we're going to be pulling on the motorway at 70, 80 miles an hour. And as long as that's at a comfortable RPM, then I'll go with it.
Tom, I like the fact you've adopted a 70s period stance to wrap up this video. It's very fitting, very Roger Moore.
Sorry, I should have donned on my flares and put on my yachting jacket, boating jacket, or whatever it is. Yeah, very much so, James, yeah. So, look, I really hope that you guys are interested in what I'm doing here. You know, that's the whole point of it. to a degree. You know, in actual fact, I could almost just say that I'm actually not that fussed whether you're interested in it. I'm going to do it anyway.
So come along for the ride anyway.
Yeah, come along for the ride. So look, in the coming weeks, this isn't going to be a 5-minute project. This is going to take us a little bit of time to get this sorted. So I will keep you up to date with progress, but the next sort of thing that we're really going to be doing is we're going to strip that engine and get that ready and prepped. And we're going to build a front axle and a rear axle, and we're going to get it to the stage where we've got an engine, gearbox, so power plant sat there, front and rear axles there, and then we're going to take this car to bits and we're going to put those bits in. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and keep you up to speed with what's happening with the engine and the gearbox. I'm going to try and keep you up to speed with the axle builds, and then hopefully we'll progress to, you know, doing a video on the removal of all those parts and the new parts going in. I think it's going to be quite exciting. You know, I think it's going to be quite interesting, and it's all going to sort of like roll into us eventually getting this thing up and running, and, you know, getting it set up on the dyno and doing some road testing. And I hope you find it interesting and want to come and see what happens.
Great, thanks Tom.
No worries. Yeah, looking forward to it.